Let's talk about it.
Hey,
How
what's
are you?
going on?
I'm great. How are you?
Busier than a one-legged dog at a butt kicking contest.
No doubt. No doubt. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining
So,
us.
Stephanie, Brandy, Brenda, what's going on, ladies?
Yeah.
How's everyone doing?
Yeah,
Jen, how's it going?
Stephanie, holy, welcome. Thanks for joining us. If you haven't put yourself in the
Francine,
comments,
Michael?
we don't know if you're here,
Sorry.
but we thank you nonetheless. You're still equal to us. You do not have to
Joanne?
comment to join us.
We do.
We appreciate the comments too.
We do.
Absolutely.
We do. Ladies and a gentle of people.
Right?
And for those of you that joined, hey, Jeremy. And for those of you that joined me last night on the live
Michael,
and posted comments and whatever, yeah, we hope you enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Meg. How's it going, Judy?
Hey, Jeremy.
There. I'm getting all my screens ready to go. We're all ready to go. So,
Hey, Anne-Marie.
Meg. Gosh, so many people coming in.
So cool.
Thank you. So,
Thank you all.
Come on. What happened last night? Come on. Before we get started on our topic, what happened with you and your team last night? I had the privilege of tapping into your live, and I saw some pretty cool stuff. So come on, let's tell everybody, what did you and your team do last night?
Yeah, we were invited in to a building, and again, we're not able to disclose where it was because it's still a very viable operating business. And I understand why they don't want to talk about it. But it was so incredibly active. Yeah, we had the live going. I know a lot of the viewers are on the live. We're able to see the shadow figure poking his head out and his shoulders out of the hallway. I know that happened a couple of times.
Yep.
You know, we had the two of my lady investigators. You know, they were doing dowsing rods and they were getting confirming answers.
Right.
To everything that was being asked. And then we played back the audio after we came off the live, and the audio actually confirmed what the dowsing rods were saying in a lot of cases, which is outstanding. Thank you, Judy. Appreciate it, Nadine. Chris. Yeah. You know, so it was just one of those things where it was just nonstop. We had a lot of incredible interaction with the dead. You know, and we've been in, you know, we've been in this. I have been in this place before, and I knew what its value was to the paranormal, and I wanted to get back in bad. But the team, no one else on the team had ever been there before, so it was brand new to them. Hey, Greg, how's it going? It was brand new to them, and you know, it was great. Everyone had a great time, although we all are suffering from the paranormal hangover. That is legit and real, folks. But you know, we're getting right back on. Show's over tonight, and I'm right back out in the field with the team again tonight on another investigation.
How fantastic
just trying to get things cinched up.
Right?
It was fun.
How fantastic.
It was fun.
Like,
and I had my buddy here, my sis. I got my sis involved. She was in on the live. She was pulling stuff out. We were confirming each other on stuff, and it was great. You know, it was just one of those kind of things where, as we've talked about a million times in the show, the energy was just right. The people were just right. And everything just gelled. Everything just jived. And it was incredible. And again, I thank you, Kitty, for jumping in. I invite you to do that, as you know, anytime, because we have a lot of fun when we do that kind of stuff together.
Well, you know me. I don't hesitate.
Thank you, Herbie. I appreciate that, right?
Right. I just speak up.
And we've done that. We've done that before. Kitty and I've done that before when we were at the Hamilton house, but we weren't on air before. It was just her and I doing a walkthrough together on the phone. And, you know, that kind of value and, that kind of confirmation, people that aren't even here. we all know how good Katie is as a psychic medium, but it's just one of those kind of things where you're able to match it all up and everything confirms each other. And guys, you just can't refute stuff that happened last night. And I was very proud of everybody on my team. And again, I thank you a lot, Katie, for helping and jumping in. It was great. It was really enjoyable working with you that way too.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of fun.
For sure. So tonight's topic, I think it's a pretty cool topic, actually. I'm pretty excited about it because, it's all about manifestation, and it's all about a lot of things. It's about the law of attraction, and it's about manifesting things and manifesting the wishes that you have and bringing energy forward and changing your mind frame. All of these things we're going to be talking about tonight, along with your questions. There's already questions in the comments, so thank you guys. Now, Richard's having some technical difficulties, so I don't know if you can see him. I can't. He's frozen on my screen, but I'm praying the man will come back, because Lord knows I can't do this job without him. I'm going to get into the comments really quick, and we'll wait for Richard for a second to see if he can come back in. And he's gone, which he will be back in, guys. So we'll let him come back in. So Michael had a question a little bit earlier about, I think, the dowsing rods. Michael, you had asked if they're the same as antennas. So dowsing rods are essentially, they work with energy, and as you ask a question, what they do is they will cross when you're getting a yes answer. Usually, sometimes they'll go this way for no, and sometimes they will actually put you in a direction in which you want to go. So years and years and years ago, many people used to twitch, they called it, and they would actually, how they started dowsing was they would twitch or they would douse with a specific branch of a tree that ended up being a Y. And you would take it and you would twist it, and that's how it would kind of pull you in the direction of where the water flowed or the gold flowed. Well, people started getting into the dowsing rods, and it was a copper rod that was very conductive, and basically it would cross, or it would pull you in a direction that you wanted to go in. And so basically that's what they use it for when using any paranormal equipment. We like to use those in conjunction with the electrical equipment, and it's great for validating. So you can ask yes or no questions. You can ask the spirit to take you in certain directions. I had an investigation at one point where I experimented, and it actually took me to where the person was buried in the cemetery. So that was pretty cool. As you guys know, Richard's back in, but he is having some technical difficulties. So bear with us, okay? I didn't mention at the beginning of the episode, as I normally mention on every episode, I cannot see all your comments, guys, so I really apologize, but Richard can. Now, we know Richard's having issues, so please don't be offended if I don't get to your comments or I don't see them. If you put Katie in the comments or the question you have, Richard may be able to see it tonight. We're not sure, but I'm jumping back and forth in between all of your comments. So, Dan, how's it going, buddy? Katie, how is it going? Greg, Yvonne, Joanne, thank you for joining us. Dan says dowsing rods are a fabulous tool. They absolutely are. I love the fact that they're so simplistic. I love the fact that it doesn't take any electrical currents. You don't need any electricity, batteries, nothing. You can just hold them and go. And the fact that Richard, during the investigation, used not only one but two of those dowsing rods, and the fact of the matter that they were crossing at the same time with the same questions, it cannot be, it can't be psychosomatic. It can't be like that type of a response. That's very rare that happens. So, again, it's really validating in the fact that it could do that, and it was so simple. Just a little while. Okay, I'm just going through your comments, guys. You need a hug? Do I need a hug, Greg, or do you need a hug? Somebody needs a hug, or maybe the other Katie in the chat room needs a hug. We all need hugs, Greg. We all need hugs. Hey, Herbie. So our next question. Hi, watched you earlier, Katie. You must be really powerful if you were going long distance. Wow, thank you. Here's the misconception. This is the misconception. So we live in a physical world. I have had the pleasure and the ability to do readings all around the world. And when people call me for readings, one of the first things they ask me, because, before COVID, I used to meet a lot of local people in person because I would rather meet you in person, quite frankly, than doing it online. But COVID forced my hand and basically said to me, you know what, you're going to have to start doing things at home. And so I pushed a lot more of the virtual readings. So I've been able to validate through across the world and be able to do it that way. And people have this misconception because we live in a physical world and we think we need something tangible, for example, okay, that's how we're going to communicate. And that's not necessarily the case. Energy is energy. So I have done readings in Australia, New Zealand, Tel Aviv, China, Germany, all over. And to me, it's not necessarily the physical distance from someone, it's the distance in their energy. It's you blocking off your energy. I could have somebody standing right in front of me, and if they're not allowing me in, then it's harder for me to read. So the fact of the matter was, Richard was open with his team. He was prepared to communicate. The element was right. The day was right. The spirits were willing to communicate. And that's what opened the door for me to be able to get in and do what I had to do. And so that's kind of how energy works. It's not always in person, which is kind of cool. So Kelly says, good morning, everyone. And hi, Katie and Richard. Good morning, Kelly. I don't know where you're located, but it's evening here, but good morning to you. Let's get into a little bit more of the comments. So Nadine says, Herbie, my husband and I have definitely manifested the last 2 years. Our entire lives have changed because of it. I'd like to bring up something that's brought up a lot of manifestation talks. Bear with me. What do you think about turning all the lights green on your home for work? Okay, so unfortunately, Richard is still frozen. Richard, can you hear us, buddy? Don't think he can. So manifestation. I promise you, everybody, I did not manifest Richard's screen freezing. That's the first thing. I promise you I didn't do that. I just might, Chris. So Chris says it looks like you might have to run the show. That's kind of scary because Richard, he's the boss. And he's the one that does all the work, and I'm the one that shows up. So bear with me, guys. So manifestation. So manifestation basically is the art of getting what you need. Okay. There's a lot of theories out there that you can manifest your desires and what you want. And in my personal experience and in my personal opinion, okay, you don't necessarily get what you want. The universe gives you what you need. Now, if what you want and what you need coincide, then obviously it works to your favor even better. But I'm a firm believer that you have to entrust into the universe. They are looking after you and they are helping you make the decisions. So you may want something or think you want something so badly, and the universe is not giving it to you. And you can call it God, Allah, Buddha, whatever you want to call it in terms of the consciousness. It's not, you're praying for this every day and it's not happening. It doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to happen or that it shouldn't happen, but there's divine timing in a lot of things. And so they may not think that you are ready, or there's learning lessons that you have done yet or taken place in order to get these things to follow through. Welcome back.
Jesus.
No
Jesus
pressure,
Christ.
buddy.
I couldn't believe it.
No pressure.
All I'm gonna
No
say
pressure,
is-
buddy. I'm fine.
I've been here. I have heard the entire thing. By the way,
Good. Well, I
guys,
hope I'm
she
doing
could
well.
absolutely handle this without me. I could step away on a hiatus and she'd be perfectly fine. Trust me.
No.
Yeah, that was a little bit beyond annoying. Yeah.
That's okay. You know what? Technology, what are you going to do? Right? I promise you I didn't manifest that.
No,
so
guys. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, a lot of you don't know. I live out in what we call in the U.S. the country. I live in the country. And I am actually operating with something called DSL, which is one step above dial tone because you can't get real internet here. Yeah, that's going to end this Friday when I move. I'm going to get a full gig of power. Then I'll be unstoppable. Wow, but it sounds like you're doing a great job talking about the Dowsing Rods and everything. Thank you very much for taking it over. I appreciate it.
So we were talking about manifestation and manifesting, what you feel you need in a long time. And there's a lot of wonderful things. I manifest things every single day. Now, the art of manifestation, in my experience, and everybody is different, but in my experience, is when you put something to action. And so it's not necessarily wishing for something. We all wish, I wish I was sipping cocktails in Tahiti today, but that's not going to happen. But that doesn't mean that I can't manifest it at some point in time. And so basically, you're putting your thoughts to action. You're sending it out to the universe. You're treating it like it's happened. Okay. And so there's 4 things that I tell people to do. Number 1, I tell them to put it out to the universe of what you require. Okay. And it's not necessarily what you desire, it's what you require. So we all want, I don't know, I'm making it up. We want a Lamborghini. Okay. But really, you require a car. Okay. So you don't want to get petty in some of your requests. And I'll probably get flack on this, but this is how I manifest. So you put it out there as if you already have it. So you envision, that the car that you want, okay, the car or the vehicle that you need a vehicle. And the next step is you envision the money in the bank, or you paying the bill, or you getting the financing that you need, and you envision yourself sitting in that bank doing the transaction as if it's already happened or it's happening. And then you set it off, the intention, to the universe. Okay. And after you've set it off to the universe and you've said, this is what I require, then you start a vision board and you start visualizing what you're going to do with said vehicle, what you're going to do, how you need it, and not necessarily justify it to the universe or justify it to yourself, but you're going to explain why you need it. And you have to entrust that the universe is going to do the best thing for you. A lot of people get frustrated about this because they think they know what's best for them. It's not always the case. Okay. So somebody had mentioned something about, green lights. Anything in this physical world that is going to help you with the active intent is going to be a positive outlook. So if putting music on while you do these vision boards is going to open up your consciousness more, put music on. If changing everything to green is going to help, change it to green. They've done studies in churches, and it doesn't matter what denomination or religion you live in or live with. The power of prayer is absolutely it's miraculous. There's miracles. There's so many things that happen with it. And it's really the active intent. Those people are coming forward without a doubt in their mind. They're seeking, they're asking the higher universal consciousness. They're putting it out to the universe. They're envisioning it. They're praying for it. And a lot of these times, these miracles take place. It's the same thing. It's very similar to that in that regard. You're entrusting your faith. You're entrusting the universe that is going to help you with this. And so it's quite frankly, there's really not a lot of difference with that. I think that one of the biggest things that we have to learn is patience, because when we want something in this world, especially in today's age, we want it now. And that's not necessarily how it works.
No, it doesn't. You're right. And I'm really big on the theory that there are 3 answers when you send it out there. There's yes, there's no. I mean, there's yes, which we all love. There's no, which, we have a hard time with. And then there's wait. Wait. And it's kind of one of those things. For example, here's a good point. Katie Woodlord Stafford said, "Do your intentions help with manifestations?" Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, Richard, he's manifesting a frozen screen. Yes, absolutely, Katie. They do. It absolutely helps. The active intent is so powerful, no matter what you do, that it's really kind of helping along. And the important thing is you have to envision it as if it's already happened, as if it's already, not that you're wanting this or desiring it, the fact that you already are worthy enough to have it. Okay. And it's that worthy feeling, it's that conscious decision in your mind, that intent is what makes it powerful. Now, Herbie had said, Katie, that's like the book of The Secret teaches. So that specific book teaches all about your wants. Okay. And it's desiring your wants, your wants, your wants. I am a firm believer that it's really about what you need. Okay. There's a lot of things we want, but in my life, it's been what I need. And sometimes it's frustrating. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, but a lot of times the universe gives it to you in order to help with learning lessons. And what it does is you know, there's certain steps that you have to take in order to get that. So you may think that you want that house in the country, and you're manifesting that, but you need a good job for it, and you end up manifesting a job halfway across the other side of the country, and you don't know what to do, because that house you've had your eye on and you think you deserve is your best move, but really moving across the country and getting the other house is your better move. And so everything happens for a reason. It's not random. Okay. I'm just looking at more comments. So, how many people have worked on meditation? I want to see in the comments, how many people have worked on meditation and worked on manifesting? So for me, I've manifested a lot of things in my life, and they're not necessarily materialistic items. I have manifested people, mentors, teachers, students, clients. I put it up to the universe. So I'll give you an example. When I traveled doing this, so when I was doing in-person sessions, I was traveling everywhere. I was going hours and hours away. And if I had somebody contact me and say, I need a reading, you know, I would really like a reading from you. Obviously, if I was traveling 6 hours away, I couldn't go for one person, right? So, you know, I would put it up to the universe, and I'd say, okay, universe, you know, I have somebody here who needs a reading. They've requested a reading. They need this. Obviously, you know, the divine is asking for this. They're asking for me to come and do a reading. I need you to help me to be able to get there, to do what I need to do. You know, what can you do to help me to get other people? And I can tell you, it never once failed me. I would have, within hours, people from the same town or the same vicinity messaging me or calling me for readings, and they did not know each other. Now, I don't say, hey, did you know Nancy? She just called me. But, you know, I would say, hey, did you have any other friends that asked for readings, or where did you get my name? Or, you know, I'd ask those questions just to kind of find out what was happening. And they did not know each other. It was kind of the divine putting it into perspective. So not only was it getting that woman who requested, that man requested that reading, it was getting me to where I had to be so I could help said person. And those other people it was kind of put in their consciousness too. And so again, it's really putting it out to the universe and not overthinking of it. This goes into the law of attraction. Now, are you back with us, Richard? You just jump in, buddy.
I'm here. You got me?
Yes, I got you, baby. So what input before I take over?
No, I mean, it's the same thing, even in your daily walk of life, like Kitty was talking about. For example, I'm a sales rep. Okay. So I talk people that are spending money on me every single day. I talk them into it. That's just what my job is. When you have a certain number of things that you need to have done, for example, deals, for example, I'm that way. If I need to have 4 deals in by the end of the day, I leave my house before I put my car in reverse, and I'm manifesting it, and I'm pushing it, and I'm pushing it out there, and I'm pushing it out there. And yeah, I might get it. I most likely will. You know, I've had one of the best banner weeks I've ever had in my career yesterday, or this last week, when I needed it. But again, to me, it has a lot to do with how do I say this? Don't ask for more than you need.
Exactly. Do not be
selfish.
selfish.
Weird.
No,
sounds weird.
Makes sense.
But I have a tendency to believe that if we waste that gift of what the universe is willing to give us, okay, I think it has a tendency from time to time, what I call the rubber band effect. Pull, pull, pull. Oh, yeah, really? Click. And it comes right back at you because something isn't helping it move forward. So I'm real big on, what you need is X. That is what you work hard to manifest for to have happen. Here's another example. That investigation that happened last night. That all transpired in 12 hours. I talked to the owner of the business, and they were like, you know what? Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. But 2 days or 3 days prior, I was sitting there pushing on. I really want another place to go. I really want another place to go. And that's what we got. But it came down to I didn't want 17 places to go. I just wanted one, just one for now. We wound up getting 2. So there you go, right? We had the big one last night. We had a little one right after that same night. And then I have another one tonight. So, yeah, this all has a lot to do with intent, has a lot to do with, the manifestation, have a lot to do with the attraction. I think it's going to sound extraordinarily, to me, it's going to probably sound a little off for some people, but to have the purity behind what you're seeking.
Mm-hmm.
I think that has a lot to do with it too. What is your intent with what you're trying to manifest? What are you trying to get out of this? Because again, we've all heard of that, even that word karma, right? Whatever you put into the universe is what you're going to get back. If you have ill intent, I believe, if you have ill intent in the things you're trying to manifest, it's not going to work out well. I just don't think it will. Because we have talked about it at length on this show. We have talked about it at length, how important the energy is you're doing anything with and what the intent means to that situation. Yep. So yeah, it all plays together.
And I think you really hit the nail on the head when you said, don't be selfish about it. When I put that active intent out to the universe and stipulated, I need to get this lady read, I want to help her. It wasn't like I need money, I want to get paid. I am somebody who, when I give my spiel for readings, for example, I refuse to accept payment till after I'm done my session. I will not. I don't even won't even talk about it. And I tell people, if you're not happy with it, I'm not going to charge you. I don't want it to be about money. I don't want you to sit down and go, God, I hope this isn't a waste of my money, because it'll never be. Because if you're not happy with this session, I'm not going to charge you for it. I don't want it to be about that. I want it to be open and for the right reasons. And I put it out to the universe that the universe will provide for me. I'm not a rich woman by any stretch of the imagination. I've done other careers in my job that I made much better money at. But that's not why I do what I do. And that active intent, and I think integrity and purity is really important. I think that's, it's the right reasons. And so if you're asking for the universe to do things for the right reasons, it's good. If you want $10,000, you're trying to manifest $10,000, ask yourself why. First of all, is it for a vacation to Bali, or is it, for cancer treatments? Because there's different things there. And number two, instead of limiting yourself and trying to manifest that $10,000, why are you limiting it to that? And it's not about selfishness or not wanting to have too much, but it's asking for abundance. If you can ask for an abundance. So let me put it to you this way. If you had a family member that had cancer and they needed to pay, so, in the States, you have to pay for certain treatments. In Canada, you have to pay for certain treatments. But you could either have $10,000 to pay for that, or you could have, a medical practice that is willing to do it for free. Which one would you choose? And this is where we limit our physical mind from getting what we really want. We have that tunnel vision that it's the 10,000, I need the 10,000, I need the 10,000. And what you're doing by focusing so hard on that $10,000, you're actually repelling through the law of attraction. You are not actually getting what you need. You're getting what you think you want, right? So say, for example, that free treatment or that treatment that you were able to save that individual ended up being $12,000 and you're $2,000 short. You've limited yourself. Okay. It's all about putting it out to the universe, however it can come to you. So if you're looking for the abundance, if you're looking for it, make sure that there's integrity and there's honesty, and if you're asking for it for the right reason.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Great points. And we have a list of questions being put out there. The next one I want to address is Joanne. She says, manifesting the same as praying for the same thing multiple times. All right. So as a former minister, I'm just going to give you my end of it. Okay. When you pray for something, you're asking God to manifest it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's no different. Okay. But here's the thing, though. If you're going to pray for something like that, pray for something for someone else. Again, it's all a matter of what you give is what you get. That's the way this life is. Next question. Do you want to add anything to that, Katie? I'm sorry. Do you want to add anything to that at all?
No, absolutely agreed. Absolutely agreed. I had talked about praying in the active prayer for sure. Now, Anne had said, I believe it's more like getting on a certain vibration that attracts the vibrations you are on. I watch for signs and synchronicities that let me know I am on the right path. Absolutely. Everything is a vibration. Absolutely everything is a vibration. So if you want to get into semantics of what things are called, you know what? I understand everybody has a little different word for it. Absolutely. The law of attraction is putting a vibration out. It's coming back to you. And what you put out is what you get back. Okay.
Absolutely.
You know, people, when I read them, they'll say to me, like, why do I always date these bad guys? Why do I always get this? That's because that's what you're putting out. If that's all you feel you're worthy with, that antenna is only going to go up so high, and that's what you're going to attract. So you have to heighten your vibration in order to get that. Tightening your vibration, tightening your vibration. So as I mentioned earlier, music, meditation. Richard is a great time in his life. He's happy. He's going to be getting married. You know, met the love of his life. He's moving. He had a wonderful week at work. He's got ghost investigations coming up. How do you think all of that was achieved? Because he heightened his vibration from his happiness. If he focuses on my life sucks, if he focuses on I hate this, or I don't like that, or I don't, what do you think you're going to attract? It's that negative component. But because he's happy, because he's light, because he's airy, that's what's going to come back to him, right? And you ended up having the best week you've had at your work. I mean, that's affirmation right there, right?
Absolutely. And Adam, I think this kind of touches on your question too, because Adam said, can someone manifest negative energy in themselves? Yeah. You get yourself to a point where in here, this is your best friend or your worst enemy. Okay? So if you drag yourself into the lower vibrational crap, that is what you're going to draw. That is exactly just touching on Katie's point she just made. It is exactly the way it should be. Where you put yourself energy-wise is where you're going to attract. Energy attracts energy. So if you put yourself on a lower vibrational energy level, that is all you're going to attract. And it's going to take a lot of work to switch that around. It's not easy to do, but you can do it. Absolutely. But a lot of people that I've seen in the past, there are a lot of people out there that are attracted by that stuff. It's kind of cool to them. It's kind of like, wow to them. And that's sad, but some people like to live through the negative crap, Adam. But yeah, people can fully manifest negative energy on themselves. Yeah, absolutely. Great. We're glad this is good for you.
Yeah, I get asked this quite a bit. I don't know about you, Richard, but I get asked this all the time. Why did these bad things happen? You know, you're supposed to have guardian angels. You're supposed to have guides. Why would they allow this to happen? Why? So the biggest learning lesson that we have to learn, guys, is we're not into this earth because we want to be necessarily. We're not here for all the sunshines and rainbows. We're here to learn learning lessons. And there are certain things that you have to do in life that you don't like. We don't like going to work. We don't like having to do our chores. We don't like, I mean, some people do, but there's a lot of things that we have to do that we don't necessarily want to do. And therefore, when bad things happen, a lot of times it's because the universe is trying to get you to learn something from it, okay? Or there's stepping stones, or there's things you have to appreciate. I often tell people after they've gotten out of a really bad relationship and they've met the love of their life, how can you have a beautiful flower garden if you haven't weeded out the weeds? It takes effort. It takes decisions. And weeds, I'm saying that term loosely because, there are a lot of beautiful weeds out there. They don't all have to be flowers. But it's your choice as to what you want to keep in your garden. And sometimes you don't even know there's a garden there because there's so many weeds. And it's until you make that space sacred and happy and pleasant that it becomes colorful. And so the same type of thing happens and equates in life. And so your guides are there to simply guide you. Now, if accidents happen, and if you were in a situation where they wanted to remove you or they wanted an angel to come and assist, they would, and they do every day. That person that you get behind that's late and it makes you late for work, thank them. Don't get frustrated with them. That person who forgot their wallet at home and had to turn around because they forgot it. Be grateful for that. If you can't find your keys, if I could go through a million examples. The bottom line is, don't get frustrated. Thank them, because your guides are doing a lot more work behind the scenes than you're aware of.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Katie says, getting back to meditation, your vibration is different when you're sad, depressed, happy, full of joy, and in my opinion, meditation helps your vibration for your manifestation. Yeah. Here's the challenge, though. I'm horrible at meditation. I actually clarify water when I do cleansing. So I'm actually clarifying water with white light. that 20 to 30 seconds of me penetrating or projecting that white light onto that water, I'm like, I don't have the patience to do that, but I know I need to. So for me to meditate, it is not happening. And I try my best, but it is not happening.
Yeah. Here's the thing, Richard, which we've clarified, right? Many times, and we'll bring it up again. Meditation is not the same for everybody. Please don't fall into the stereotype that you need to sit and go, okay? You don't. For me, meditation is my horse. Okay, I also meditate. So I also sit, calm my mind, listen to music, go through guided meditations, and so on. But for me, my major meditation is my horse. When I am on my horse, I am not focused on whether the car insurance need to be paid, whether the kids, need something, the house is clean. I am physically and mentally expelling energy. And that physical and emotional expulsion of energy is the key to meditation. I'm putting my energy in one focus. And I feel centered and my chi is heightened and I feel good after I'm done riding my horse. Many people have different forms. Sometimes it's walking, sometimes it's having baths, sometimes it's sitting, meditating, or reading. You have to find what speaks to you. There is no right or wrong way to meditate if you have the active intent behind you. So it's really important. And there's no time limit. You do not have to set a time limit and say, I'm going to meditate for 20 minutes. You don't have to do that. I am a believer that your body puts out what it needs. So I also am a believer that you have to practice. It's something that has to take some effort. So if you're setting, I don't want to call them goals, but if you're wanting to meditate, or you think that you have more messages that need to come forward and you want to spend a little bit more time,
thank you, Katie.
You got to work up to it, because again, your mind is all over. Okay, your brain and your spiritual consciousness are two separate things, and they battle each other. And so you have to be put in one. And that's where, for me, riding. Some people ski, some people walk, some people go on their Harleys, some people. There's a million things that they do. Bottom line, you just take some time, and even if it's 5 minutes, it's 5 minutes.
Yeah, my dad was a career Marine, U.S. Marine. And every time things would get a little, what he would call as clear as rocks and muddy water in the mind, and your mind's going 100 miles an hour, he would tell me, take a knee and breathe. Literally, just take a knee and breathe. And you got to learn how to slow yourself down. Okay, because what we all seem to have a tendency to do is, people, like Katie had mentioned earlier, pretty much the labeling of it is instant gratification. We want it now. Okay, well, this investigation for me last night was 6 months, almost 9 months, to be able to come together after I first talked about it. Would I like to have done it 3 months ago, 6 months ago? Absolutely. But that is, again, part of where you have to listen for the yes and be happy with it, the no and figure out why it didn't work out, or the wait. Because there is the wait. And that part requires more patience than some people have. But that is part of it. You still have to continue to manifest. You have to continue to drive yourself in the right direction. And you have to continue to put your mind where it needs to be. Eventually, it'll happen. You have a lot more ability than you think you have to be able to sit there and go, I really need to do this. I got to have it this week. I got to do that this week to make things better. I got to do that this week so I can do this or that. I have to. And as much as, you put that out there into the universe for it to turn around and help you manifest things, there's also what it does for you personally. When you put confidence behind yourself, that exudes out of you.
Absolutely.
And that confidence becomes sometimes the key to getting what you need to have manifested, is that personal confidence. And it's all, again, you've got to put all the pieces together. It's not a matter of just snapping your fingers saying, I want this. It was different when you were a child. You can go to your parents and say, I would like to have a glass of water. Okay, cool. They give you a glass of water. Life isn't like that in this edge of it, where everything is metaphysical. Manifestation is something you have to continue to do. You just can't ask once and have it appear. It's not going to happen. You got to keep pushing. The pushing is the part that people that I don't think understand. It's a constant pushing for the same thing to happen, to work, and you've got to do that to make it happen. It takes work to make the work happen.
Well, the universe also wants to make sure that you want it that badly. And Richard, you had mentioned about patience. You have to be patient. That's one of the learning lessons in life. That's one of the learning lessons. I often use the example. Say we were going to go through a cross country, the whole entire country, no matter what country you live in, pick a country. We're going to go through the whole thing. We're going to go through all the provinces, all the states, all the regions, whatever you want to call it. But you don't have your driver's license. How can you get in that car and drive legally without having the proper things necessary? The bottom line is you can't tell somebody when it's going to happen. You can tell them that you see it happening. Okay. So that person has steps that they have to take in order to get that job done. And that's basically what's going on. They have to get their license. They have to get their registry. They have to pay their car insurance. They have to get the car. All of these things have to occur first. And so your guides are sitting back, putting synchronicities, and synchronicities meaning commonalities. So, let me put it to you this way. You're seeing numbers, you're seeing letters, you're seeing, you think about something and all of a sudden it appears. You're looking for that specific car for sale and all of a sudden it appears on the wanted or the for sale ads, those types of things. The synchronicities are what your affirmations are that you're on the right track. And so there's a lot of things that have to occur in order for you to get it. So that patience is part of your learning lesson.
Yeah, no, absolutely it is. Now, Nadine put something I wanted to just briefly touch on. She said, do you feel as though there's a certain level of awakening in people in the last year or two? Let me give you my 2 cents, and I'd love to hear what Kitty has to say about it. Here's what I think. I think we've had the last 2 years for a lot of people to be home, to do a little self-reflection.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so sure it's awakening over to a new level of what's going on around you. I think it's finally being able to have the time to sit back and go, oh, crap, that actually is the way it is. Because usually we're so back before the world was tossed upside down, all right? We were get up, go to work or school, come home, have dinner, take care of stuff. If you have kids, take care of the kids, put them to bed, put yourself to bed, get up, go to work. It got to a point where everything became so routine, everything got in the way. Well, we've had the last couple of years of sitting back for some of us and being able to self-reflect. You had more time. And I think that's what's happened. I don't think it's so much more a new awakening. I think you've had time to assess what's going on in your life where you just didn't have that time before.
Well, and you've become more self-aware.
That's my opinion.
You've become more self-aware. There's that time of self-reflection, as you mentioned, being self-conscious about things, kind of being in your present moment, not being able to think about your vacation that you're going to take in 2 weeks because you can't take it when we were stuck at home. Really, and I think the fact that so many people were in a state of anxiety. We were in a pandemic that was unprecedented. We didn't know what to expect. We didn't know where, that fight or flight instinct kind of kicked in. And when that happens, instinctually, you kind of start to, instead of the little things are more important. Okay. All of a sudden you have, as an example, you have a virus that's going around, people you don't know if you're going to live or die. You're hearing all of this scary stuff on the news. And all of a sudden the petty little things that bothered you every single day were not as important. And you were more, focused on the things that did matter. And so putting that into your present consciousness and what's happening now, not worried about what's happening in 2 years, that changes your vibrational frequency. Okay. And that kind of helps to add to the conviction in your belief. And so, being in that survival mode, that's what changed it. And I think that amping up, I think that, that anxiety changed the vibrational frequency. I think the collective consciousness, so everybody being in that, changed the chi of the universe, changed that universal energy. And so we were all feeding off of each other. Was it a bad thing? Yeah, this pandemic has been absolutely horrific. People have lost loved ones, family members, friends, whatever you want to call it. But it also, I think, helped in recalibrating our energy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are a lot of different things that took place with the pandemic that I think really just, again, has the ability to make you, again, self-aware, reflect, where we just didn't have the time before. And that's the kind of stuff that we have to look at more than anything is we did the time, we took the time, we had no other choice but to take the time. Now what are you going to do with it? That to me is the key. For those that have had the time to sit back and self-reflect and look at themselves and analyze themselves with what you learn, what are you going to do with it? Because when everybody is slowly now going back to, now you're having to go back to the job. The job isn't always now just at home. Things are kind of slowly moving back to where they were. Or are you going to continue to take the time out for yourself? And it's not selfish, it's the self-care. So are you going to continue to take the time out for yourself to meditate, to manifest what you need in your life? Or are you going to let life run through your clock again for you? Because that's what's going to happen. So I think it's going to require a little more time management to continue to enjoy the self-reflection and the analyzation that you have for yourself and you've been able to take and work with that. It's going to take a little more discipline to be able to do it. Katie, no, I have, nor I don't think you have either. Have you, Katie, investigated Ashmore Estates?
I have not. Bucket list.
No, I have not either.
Bucket list.
Bucket list. I'm also a cheap ass, so that doesn't help. And then Dan Carey says, to me, manifestation is confidence and practice to achieve a higher purpose. Yes.
Now, Anne says chaos often shows people's real identity. You know what? That's a great point, Anne. You say chaos often shows people's real identity. So, yes, it does, but it also shows people at their weakness. And so chaos, sometimes it brings the worst out of people, right? Some people are reactive. You know, we've all done or said things that we regret or shouldn't have done or would have handled a little bit differently. And so it doesn't necessarily show their character or show their identity, but it shows them at their worst. And so you can gauge from that how people are going to react to other situations.
Yeah. I think chaos for people really tests their ability to manage, reactionary management. And I think I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure it shows a real identity. I think it would more show how people are able to manage it. Because there are some great people out there that just cannot manage chaos. Yeah. They just can't. But they're great people, but they just can't manage chaos. You know, so it's kind of funny. But I think, you know, with me, just kind of touching that point quickly, Ann, is that to be able to see the true identity of a person is how long can you keep it consistent?
Right.
How long can you keep the same thing going? If you're going to pretend to be a great person, a nice person, how long can you continue that? Because eventually the garbage is going to fail you. So, you know, and that's personal. That's me having to experience it myself in people. And I have personally. Katie knows about a lot of that kind of stuff because we're like that with each other. You know what I mean? I have sat back and, you know, people promise this and people promise they're going to act like this and people promise this. And you watch that consistency. And that lets you know the real identity of who they are. Eventually, if they're that way for real, they're going to stay that way for real. And if they aren't, eventually that's going to falter.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's part of life.
Yeah. And here's the thing. There's such thing as karma. And that, you know, that talking about karma, talking about dharma. So dharma, in my experience, is the act of knowing what you're supposed to be doing. Okay. And to me, doing readings and spiritual things, that is my dharma. That is what I feel is my truest self, my truest sense, my truest way of work. Karma is what you put out to the universe, is what you get back. So a lot of times, you know, people say, well, I hate that person, or I hate they did that, or I hope you stub your toe, or I hope. When you put that negative energy out, that's what's going to return to you. If somebody has done something to you and you dislike them or you hate them, send them love. And I know that's a hard concept to grasp, but our grudge wants to, you know, our ego wants to get in the way and say, you know, F you. That's not what we want. You know, we want that kindness, hoping that love that you send out to them and forgiveness is what is going to hopefully heighten their vibration and change them. And that's really hard, you know, especially when somebody's been hurt or deceited so badly. But I can tell you that when you put that love back out, that's what you're going to get back to you. And remember, if somebody's hurt you that badly or something, there's been an instance, there's something you're supposed to learn out of it. right? It's, I hate to
Yeah,
say it, but
no,
it was
I agree
meant
with that.
to happen, but there's something that's supposed to happen. Now, Brenda had mentioned earlier, she had asked about, how do crystals help with manifestation? So, crystals. Crystals. Um, crystals change the vibrational frequency. So each crystal, a mineral, for lack of a better word, we'll talk about minerals. Okay, so this tends to be peach selenite. Well, and color, does it really apply? It's up to you, to be honest with you. There's many different colors, many different vibrations, but really all about the vibration that it sets off. So each stone has a different type of vibration. And what it does is it kind of works with your chakras. It works with you, your radio signal, and it helps to elevate and change things. So each vibration, if you were to look at a speaker, you were to put sand on a speaker, turn it flat, and you let the speaker go off, the sand is going to vibrate in different ways. And if you get some time, Google it, guys. Google sand on a speaker, and you're going to see the differences. Basically, what it is the faster, the more chaotic it goes, or the patterns that the sand creates as that speaker is vibrating. The same thing occurs with crystals. So through your manifestation, it's going to affect different chakras and different energy points, bars in your body, and it's going to help to bring that stuff in. So it identifies with a specific spot. If I'm having digestive issues, if I'm having, my gut, my solar plexus are bothering me, I will go to citrine. Citrine for me is my solar plex. That will help. If I'm having hormone problems or whatever, I will go to lepidite. I'll go to labradorite. I'll go to moonstone, those types of things. So really, that's a whole nother show. We could get into crystals in a whole nother show. That's a whole nother novel, actually. But they do work. Take the time and research them.
Absolutely. Now, Katie Wardlord Safford had placed a question I want to address because I actually know this personally. My fiance is a first grade teacher. Okay. Katie's statement was, I noticed the shutdown affected school-age children. Let me tell you something. First grade, right? I don't know how many of you guys remember first grade. These kids, from what I've heard and seen from her, are so absolutely chaotic. Their lives are so chaotic from this that you wouldn't think it'd affect a first grader, right? Well, first grade isn't what we had it as when I was a kid. First grade is not the same anymore. But to see what's happened in their lives since they've lost that constant, and that's the reason why I make this point, is the constant, the never fail, the self-discipline or the discipline in their lives. They looked forward to going to school. They looked forward to seeing their friends. They looked forward to it. And what I think has happened is, again, very similarly with adults to a point, is we've been removed from that social atmosphere. We've been removed from the disciplines that our workday would bring us in the office. We've been removed from those things. And I think it's made us behave differently, in some ways badly. But to see the chaos and the absolute confusion that I've heard, and even see on my own behalf with school-age children over this stuff, is amazing. I worry for a lot of the kids nowadays during the school because they're not being consistently trained. Yet they're being tested for that. So now they kind of have the same pressures we do as adults, right? You're not in the office every day. You're not at work every single day. You're remotely working. What is that doing to you? And what is that doing to your vibration level? What is that doing to your life? Now let's look at that with a 6-year-old's mind. So just to kind of touch on your point, Katie, I fully agree that it has affected school-age children dramatically. But again, this is chaos.
Yeah, the key word is cadence, people. You need cadence, cadence. The same beat. When a musician uses cadence, and we don't have that active cadence. And vibration is certain cadence. So a faster vibration has got a higher cadence, lower, right? It's the beat, it's the cadence of things. The same thing, rhythmically, over and over again. Somebody had asked earlier about, give an example of how to start more. Give an example of how to start charging one's vibration. And I don't know if you mean charging or changing. You have to think of thought. So for example, let's get in your car. We're going to drive. Okay. We're going to get on the bus. If you don't drive, you're going to get in the passenger seat. You get in that car and you turn the radio on. Okay. What's playing on the radio? Is it the Moonlight Sonata, where you feel like, you know, your life is ending and it's this slow, painful Les Miserables, you know, belting song? Or is it a fast-paced dance song that's happy? I mean, Richard, you were a police officer. You can affirm this for me, but you know, people who are speeding, they usually weren't listening to a sad song. Usually, why were you speeding? Oh, I had the tunes cranked. I was enjoying my time. It's because you tended to drive faster and make faster decisions because of that happy song. So that's a really good example of how one changes their vibrations. Okay, and it's your happy thoughts. You know, a high vibration isn't always happy. When you have an adrenaline rush, when you have fear, that heightens your vibration too, but in a different manner. So you're getting the same type of outcome. If you, if you open up your tap and turn the water on it, or you spill water out of a cup at the same amount, you're still getting water out, but one's for a good reason, one's for a bad reason. So it's the same type of example. It's really the active intent behind it. You know, you manifested a speeding ticket because you decided to heighten that vibration.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I will tell you, you know, again, Katie and I have talked about this as well in many other shows prior. You know, I would recommend, and Katie will back me up on this, go find some moving body of water. Take your socks and shoes off, go plant yourself on the earth, and go sit yourself near moving water. That high vibration of energy will maybe not set you off like some really great head banging music might, but what it'll do is it'll balance you out. And what's funny is you may get sleepy. I've actually gotten sleepy sitting by a running stream because it's relaxed me. It's reset my energy for me. It's a neutralizing energy. So it's going to help you change that energy and get charged up for the next day. But if you don't learn and do the things you need to do to charge yourself up, you can take a beat. I actually have a playlist that I listen to prior to an investigation. And yeah, I'm going on 60. Okay, here's the reality of it. I play some of the craziest head-banging music you're ever going to hear. I am a hard rock, hard guitar, drum guy, and that gets my head in a certain frame of mind to where I come out of there going, ugh! And I just want to have at it. But that's what I needed. So yeah, I mean, and again, I leave an investigation. I'm going to look for running water, and that'll reset me to him, and I'll go home and sleep like a baby. I came home last night, slept 9 hours, didn't move. So yeah, you definitely need to do that kind of stuff.
Now, George, I said, how did your neck feel this morning if you didn't move? Georgia Nadeau says, are there clues in dreams to know if content is from the past or future? As we look for guidance, I don't want to change topic. This is very interesting. Well, you know what? That's a great question, Georgia. No problem whatsoever on asking that question. We take all types of questions, guys. So you don't have to limit it to this topic. Any questions you have, put them out in the comments. But yes, to answer your question, we do have past life moments, memories, all of those things in our dreams. We also have premonitions for the future, and we also have affirmations that things are on the right track. So, you know, sometimes it simply comes down to your subconscious has to let things like a screensaver happen. Not every dream is a premonition or a message from the higher power. Sometimes your body has to release these things. So I always tell people, you know, to know that you're having kind of affirmation or premonition or even a past life regression in that dream state, memory. It's a very vivid dream. There's no 1 minute you're in this room, the next minute you're in another room, or you're here, you're there. I always dream in color. I know people who have never dreamt in color. I've never not. But I have had clients that have stipulated to me, you know, this one was in color and it was very vivid. And so therefore, you know, I've always told people that, you know, it comes down to, you know, kind of what it means to you. I think it's not necessarily who is in the dream, but what you're learning or what you're being explained to in the dream. Whether you're lucid dreaming, whether you know you're dreaming. And let's face it, it's whether you're actually stepping out of your body. So we astral project. We cross over to the other side 5 to 7 times a month. We just don't realize it or remember it. So it could even be that you're out doing visitations with loved ones that have already passed over. You know, people will say, I had a dream of my grandfather who came to visit me last night. Or did you go to him? It's not, because it's absolutely possible. So yes, to answer your question,
Oh yeah.
it absolutely can be all of those things.
No, absolutely. Francine just said, please do a crystal show soon. You know, I really feel we need to. It
I know,
is
we've
one
talked
of
about
those
it.
kind of things where, you know, Katie is the crystal and stone lady. I'm getting there. And honestly, that experience I have towards crystals and stones is really because of her. But yeah, I mean, that'd be a subject that we've asked you guys for a million subjects over the last 2.5 years. Well, 2 years, right? 2 years. Yeah, we'll do a crystal show. That's not a problem at all. I happen to know a couple people. One of them is actually on here on the show as one of our viewers who dabbles in a ton of crystals. So I mean, I probably won't be able to get a word in edgewise between her and Katie, but that would be okay. As long as you guys get the information you want, I can sit back and just eat coconut cookies and be good, and not have a challenge with that at all. You know, it's just the way it works. Let me see. I'm trying to think here. Mario said, my friend's daughter developed severe anxiety about returning to school, learning to the point the school had compromised and allowed her to remain online. Well, yeah, I've seen a lot of that too.
Yes,
Katie, not a problem.
Yeah, there's a couple things with that, Mario. So you got to ask yourself, is the child sensitive? Is she psychic? Because this is the time where I had talked earlier about that universal consciousness and that level of anxiety throughout the world that people are picking up on as empaths, as energy workers, and we're all to a certain degree tapping into that. It may not even be our energy. So her being anxious about this stuff, she can be picking up the energy from your friend's mother, from, you know, if there's anxiety in the household, it may not even be the daughter's, but she's picking up on it and owning it like it's hers. And it's really important to identify. I think that you know, we do not identify whether we actually own the energy or not. And when I do readings for people in spiritual guidance, I really ask them, if they're having low vibrations, is it you? Is it you? You know, and a lot of times you find out it's not them. You know, somebody had a really bad day or went through a divorce and you've been assisting that person, your best friend's having a rough go, all of a sudden you're suffering from depression. It's because that energy transference happened. Now, earlier this week, I posted something on my page, and it talked about the transference of energy and how simple it is. And we don't own it. It was a great example. I can post it in the comments if y'all want to see it later, but it's a great example because it crosses over and we carry it like a backpack, and it's not even our energy. So really get into her energy field and find out if it in fact is hers.
Yeah, absolutely. Herbie Crespo said, should you ever go investigating if you have any chaos in your life, or can you suppress it? Okay. Well, let me tell you, that gets a little scary. That gets a little dicey. You start going into an investigation, okay, and you're not in the right headspace, you become the weakest link. That's just my experience in this business. If you go into an investigation and you're not mentally prepared, your mind's somewhere else, you have that kind of chaos in your life where your mind is actually operating on something else, but you're in the middle of an investigation, I wouldn't do it. I'd reschedule it. Reschedule it. Or I would actually step outside, see if you can shake off whatever crap's going on, whatever chaos is happening. But I wouldn't step back into that building or location again until your head's on a swivel. Because if your head isn't right, that'll really take a chance of having you all screwed up. You know, with my team, before we investigate, we get together, we talk through, is everybody okay? Everybody good? Does anybody need to stay outside and kind of, you know, change out batteries or maybe watch a monitor? You know, and if you don't feel like you're capable of stepping into this without having something impede your process, then don't. That investigation can wait. Don't become a target. And I really do feel that people become a target when they feel themselves being slipped away to other things.
Well, it's like riding a horse. So I tell people, if you don't want to fall off, don't ever get on a horse because it's going to happen. It's a matter of time. And that's not manifesting it. That's reality. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and not to intimidate people in terms of investigating, but you have to be prepared. You have to be prepared that when it happens, that you're, number one, aware of it. Number two, you know how to deal with it. So, limiting and lowering your levels of vulnerability is always a good thing. It's calculated risk. Are you willing to do this? Some people, they do not self-reflect enough to know how much risk they're calculating. Okay, and so that's where your team members come in. That's why I say, don't go solo. Have a buddy with you, even if it's one that knows your personality, knows how you react to things, because you may not even be aware that you've picked this stuff up or taken it home. And I think that there's a lot of suicides, mental health, institutional stays. A lot of that is on more of a paranormal side or energy influence than an actual mental illness. And I'm not saying mental illness doesn't exist. I'm just saying there's a lot of grinding factors under that.
There is. Now, Francine just said, Richard, if you were asked to go to a residential school, would you? What do you mean by residential school, and why would I be asked to go there?
Okay, so I'll fill you in a little bit. So I'll fill you in a little bit, Richard. In Canada, the First Nations, the Aboriginals, many years ago were sent to what was called residential schools, and residential schools where they were taken from their reserve and they were put into more of a Christian, and I'm just giving the general, guys, I'm not getting into it. They were put into a school system that they lived there. And unfortunately, some of these schools were not the best. And a lot of Aboriginal, Indigenous, if that's what you want to call it, passed away because of it. We have a movement here in Canada that says every child matters. If for those of you that aren't aware of it, I welcome you to go and check it out, go and Google it. And basically, there's people standing up. We're all standing up for these unspoken deaths that occurred. There was a lot of bad stuff that happened with these poor children, and a lot of these families were broken up and never returned. And so, basically, I believe that that's what she's asking is that would you go to these residential schools, because there's a lot of children that suffered.
Are you talking about to investigate? Is that what you believe she's saying?
Yes.
Yeah, I would. We were doing our investigation last night, and I crossed over two children. One by the name of Nan, and her brother, whose name was Daniel. I crossed them over. I will do whatever is when I've done residential investigations before. If there were children involved, they became top priority. I'm a father. I'm a grandfather. So yeah, I would. And I would do it with nothing other than a sole intent of trying to help as best I could. That's something that I've not done before. I mean, I've investigated it. Here in the U.S., they have something called an elementary school. Elementary, middle, and then high school, right? So elementary school, that was in a very bad, impoverished neighborhood. Kids were, left to their own devices most of the time. They didn't have enough teachers. So kids kind of ran their own world. It was kind of mayhem and chaos. And I investigated that school and was able at that time to cross over, I think, 4 children in total. But yeah, no, I would. Understanding that now, I appreciate you explaining it to me. But yeah, I mean, I would. I just wish we weren't so far apart.
Right. Monday. Now, who had asked questions? So Dan Carvey had asked, I have a personal question. How do I best honor my dear brother's 5th year anniversary of his death? He died on his birthday. I hate this time of year. And first of all, my condolences. I'm very sorry to hear that. The best way to honor that, Dan, the best way is to forgive. The best way is to remember all the wonderful times you had, even if there was few. The best thing is to accept his death and understand that even though he is not in his physical form, that he still is part of this universal energy, that he still, is I hate the words looking down on you, but he's around as energy. That's about the best way that you can honor it. I'm telling you, a lot of times when people grieve and can't get over things, it actually tethers them tethers spirits here. It holds them back from their spiritual ascension and heightening in vibration. So you have to understand that it gets higher and higher and higher. And so, unfortunately, I think that, people who grieve, and you're allowed to grieve, there's no right or wrong way, but people who grieve longer don't allow that spirit ascension to happen. And so, again, just honor his death and accept his death and love his life.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, that's a tough place to be in. I get it completely. Now, Adam Tripler said, people who can ease other people's pain physically with thought would be a magnification of energy from one person to another. Okay. Yes. There are people who can deliver white light to other people. There are people who can deliver healing energy to other people. There are people that can
stop blood,
rest anxiety in others. There are people that can do that. I'm not going to give the extreme personal example of that, but I have a procedure to relieve anxiety with a person, and it doesn't require medication. It just requires energy. You just transfer the right energy, and you can pretty much quell some of the nastiest crap people are going through if you try it right. And that's what I definitely would recommend anybody would do. Mario, you're welcome, buddy. Anytime, man. Thank y'all. Gosh, we got a lot going on in this room, Katie.
I know. So much.
Write a note about the good times you both had.
Okay, so here's one. Where I live,
that's
healthy
okay, Francine.
Which Katie says, where I live, healthy, athletic young men just drop dead on the court or field. What have you? Mostly high school students. The mystery was solved, thank goodness.
What was the mystery?
Yeah, I'm curious. Well, I have my suspicions, but I will keep those. You let me know. I'm curious. You let me know what those are.
Yeah, I have a suspicion as well, but I don't know if it's right. I got, in my mind, I've got monster drinks and a heart attack, heart issues. I've seen that happen a lot on courts.
Yeah. Now, Herbie says, just a quick question. Do you guys see auras? Yes, I do see auras. Yes.
Yeah.
I absolutely see auras and colors as well. That's kind of how it all started for me. That's how I found out that I was different from a lot of people. My mother got a phone call home from school.
Thank you.
She got a phone call home, and from my first grade teacher, nonetheless. And the teacher said, Katie's a really bright kid, but she's kind of off in la la land sometimes. She's just kind of staring at me. When I ask her a question, she'll answer it, but she's kind of got this far away look on her. Can you kind of explain what's going on? And so my mother sat me down and asked me. And at this time, I'm dating myself. I'm sure there's still blackboards in the schools, but when the teacher would be standing at the blackboard, and it's completely black behind her, I was seeing all of her energy, and I was so focused on the colors around her that I was still listening, but I was just magnetized. And so my mother, she asked me, she said, what's this? And I said, well, all the colors. And she was kind of shocked, and she said, colors. And I explained it to her. She said, oh, that's auras. And so, she kind of had the pep talk with me saying that's wonderful, Katie, that you can see that, but that's not part of school. So if you see that stuff, you have to try to kind of shut that down and pay attention to the teacher, and we'll talk about it when you get home. And, that was kind of my first conception of it.
I tell you what's interesting, and that reminds me about seeing the auras and seeing the colors of energy, right? There was a young girl that was on a show not too long ago, and she was deaf, and she was able to listen to music and sing. And she was asked, how did she register the music? And she said, I can see the colors that the energy brings. I can literally see the colors that the music gives me. And that reminds me of what I'm hearing. I thought that was pretty cool. Now, Ellen said, how do you get to past lives? Do you have to be hypnotized, or is there a way to reach them yourself?
So I see past lives. I pick up on people's past lives if the consciousness wants me to see it. Here's the thing about past lives. Okay, and this is gonna blow people's minds, and I may get flack for this too. We do not reincarnate on a linear scale. There's no such thing as time on the other side. So we may reincarnate tomorrow into the 1500s. We may reincarnate into the 1300s. We may reincarnate into, BC. Okay, we do not reincarnate from this time to this time. That is what we have on this physical realm. So
Right.
when I pick up on past lives, I may see, for example, somebody in the 1800s, and then I see a woman back in the 1500s, and then I see somebody in the 40s, and then I'm making it up. But as you understand, it changes. The key for me when I pick up these past lives, when I see them, is because it's what that individual that I'm picking up on is supposed to be working on. Their unanswered lessons or justification or conclusions in that person's past life that they still need to learn or comprehend in this life. And that's why I'm picking them up. We've all had multiple lives. We've all been men. We've all been women. We've all been murdered. We have all murdered. There's a yin to yang to everything. And it's all about, the learning lessons throughout that time period. So to answer your question, I've had past life regressions. I've had very successful past life regressions. For those of you who are interested, I can forward you the gentleman that I worked with. Pretty awesome, stellar experience. Did it in the comfort of my own home. But you don't necessarily have to pay somebody to do it. There are things that you can do. There's exercises you can do to pick up on that. But yes, if you're really having a lack of closure on something, don't be afraid to kind of tap into that and see if you can get it answered.
Yeah, true. Really true. Katie Stafford says, now can your aura show if you're sick or not? Someone was telling me that aura changes. Yes, it does. Because your energy changes. And that'll change your aura.
Mm-hmm.
That'll change your coloration. So, yeah. I mean, do you agree with that, Katie?
Yes, absolutely. Your
Okay.
aura is your mood ring. Your aura is kind of your mood, and it changes. It's not always the same color. Somebody isn't blue and somebody isn't red and somebody isn't green. There's, depending on how you're feeling and what energy you're putting out there, your aura is going to be a different color. But your aura is also going to denote what you're feeling at the moment. And it's not necessarily if you're feeling cold or sick or hot. It's what emotions you're holding. So, if you if you've never, let me put it this way. Say you've been psychic your whole life, but you refuse to work on it. Okay, you're gonna denote a really big purplish blue aura, and that's kind of, even though you're not psychic doing readings for people, that psychic side of you is going to be kind of coming out of your pores. Okay, so it just depends on kind of your mood for the day.
Well. And Jeremy said, I've had two people do a past lives read on me, and both were different.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. So how I would question how reputable these people were, and that's no criticism. They could be amazingly, good. I would ask, at what time in your life did you have those sessions done? Did you go through a traumatic experience before or after? And how close between each session did you have it? Because they may very well be picking up on different things, because at that point in your life, it's something that you had to work on. Right? It's also interpretation. So to me, somebody who does ultrasounds, right? The ultrasound is only as good as somebody reading it. A psychic medium is only as good as the person picking up the information. So if they're having a bad day, or you're having a bad day and you're not able to open the energy, that really shifts, and it makes it harder for people to read or do their job. So again, what was going on in your life at that time?
And again, too, that people have to also understand, when you trying to do a psychic reading, and if the energy changes in the interim, that might change the outcome.
Right.
So I mean, that may have been what happened. That's kind of along the same line of what Katie was saying. Jeremy said, I would like to know what color my aura is right now. And he has a laughing face afterwards. Guys, wow. We only got 10 minutes left. That was quick.
Right?
That was a quick hour and a half. Right. As fast as lightning. But guys, this has been a really great open discussion. I apologize for the technical difficulties on my end. We're thankfully going to have that change by the next show next Sunday. But yeah, we appreciate you guys hanging in. Of course, Katie was able to step in and do a great job. Yeah, but we really do appreciate you guys coming out to the show and watching us, and hopefully you guys get something from this. That's really what this is being done for. Hopefully it helps whomever. But it pass along the show, guys. If you like the show, we're going to ask you to go ahead and share it. We're going to ask you to go ahead and like it. It's just something that we feel is able to help everybody. If you feel the same way, share it. Why not? Right? Thank you, man. TV, no problem. Thanks. Adam saying, hey, Katie, can you reincarnate into the future?
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Where do you think all the good ideas come from? No, yes, absolutely
Right.
you can. Now, in my experience, the average incarnation or reincarnation is 70 human years, 70 linear years. So in other words, and it's not to the day, but it can go back and it can go forward. You can.
Thank you, Mara.
I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I'm not saying every time you incarnate, you're going to be going back in time. I'm just saying it's not necessarily like this to this to this to this. What I'm saying is that we have different moments in time, and it's part of our learning lessons. So it's sporadic. It's all over the place. And yes, absolutely, you can incarnate into the future. My son, when he was, and I've told this story before, I'll tell it really fast. When he was 2.5 years old, I asked him, he was having these dreams, and I asked him, did he remember how he died? And he said yes. And he explained to me his death in very great detail as a 2.5-year-old can tell, down to where he lived and he could speak Japanese. My son is not Japanese. I do not have any Japanese in my family. He had Japanese. To this day, he still refers to my brother in a Japanese word. Like, he still calls him that instead of uncle. And ironically enough, 70 years to the day was D-Day that he was killed, and he talked about that. How does a 2.5-year-old know that? He doesn't. And so he was born 70 years later. So it can happen where he was born into the future, but the average incarnation period is usually around 70 human years. Now, that doesn't mean 70 years to the day. It could be 75, it could be 69, but it's around that time
frame. And I've actually had these kind of conversations with Katie before, and the past life stuff is really, really, to me, extraordinarily interesting. At some point, I guess we need to take a look at doing a show on that as well. We now have materials for a show.
Right.
We now have materials for a show. Yeah, 2-year-olds don't. Katie says 2-year-olds do not know how to lie. They don't. And a lot of times they will hurt your feelings, tell you the direct truth, but that's just who they are.
Yep.
It is what it is. It is what it is. But guys, we're actually going to sign off here a couple minutes early because I have to go get ready for an investigation. And we do appreciate y'all very, very much. But I do have to kick out and go speak to some people that are in a place and are not paying rent. Yeah.
Or cleaning the floors.
Yeah,
they just ghosted you, Richard. They just ghosted you.
I know. What's up with that? All right, guys. Well, you guys have a great night. We appreciate y'all coming in. And we will talk to you next time around. Have a good night, guys.
See you next week, guys. Bye.
Bye. And there we go.